Welcome back to Manga Mavericks at Movies, a show where we talk smack about movies. Or not talk smack about movies.
What's the last movie we talked smack about? I don't even remember.
I don't know, but even if we were to talk smack about this movie, we wouldn't smack it, we would slice it, we would cut it up, because we're talking about a good old-fashioned samurai flick this time. A modern take on that genre by someone who knows it very well, acclaimed action director Takashi Miike. Later, the Immortal is the film of the day we're talking about, and it happens to be Takashi Miike's 100th film. That's right, that man is incredibly prolific. And I have not seen all of his films at all, no. In fact, I think that Blade of the Immortal might be the only film of his I've actually seen.
I think I've seen another one of his films, but I forget which one it is. I don't know. I'm planning to see the JoJo one at some point at the very least.
Yes, Takashi Miike has directed several live-action adaptations of anime, video game-related properties, such as Yatterman, Ace Attorney, As the Gods Will, Terraformars, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, Diamonds Unbreakable, Chapter 1, even though they probably will not make Chapters 2 and 3, because that performed pretty badly at the box office. And we don't usually get a lot of Takashi Miike films over here, at least not in theatrical screenings across the country, but we did for Blade of the Immortal because that is its 100th film, and also because it is like a legitimately great film that I think appeals to a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, I think for what little critical reception it's gotten, it's all been positive.
Yes, thank you, Magnet Releasing, for bringing this film out over here.
I've never heard of that licensor.
Well, I hadn't either, but they are responsible for bringing this out into theaters and for you being able to rent it off iTunes for $7.
Thank you.
Yes.
Get me the JoJo film.
Part of what might have given this film a good reputation, or at least some hype, is the manga it is based on, which is widely regarded as a classic. It has won several awards. The original manga by Hiroaki Samura, a 20-year spanning, 30-volume running manga series about a samurai called Manji. Well, more of a Yojimbo because he's a bodyguard. And he's an immortal because he has these bloodworms in his body that heal up all his injuries. And so now he goes around Edo protecting Rin, a girl who is trying to avenge her family by killing the man who is responsible for their deaths, and Notsu, and his group of samurai, the Itorui.
Japanese names. Cool.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know what comic you wanted, Sid. Awkward silence.
This manga is very beloved, so it makes sense that there would be a lot of excitement for this film. And it was adapted quite well, I would say. I've only read the first 3 volumes. But the movie adapts much of the early parts and then makes up its own ending from what I understand of it.
Okay. I haven't read a single chapter of the manga, so yeah. I don't really have much to say on that, but I found it interesting that this basically takes a lot of the plot beats from the entire manga and then kind of like melds it together into one narrative.
I mean, in the sense that it does take elements from a lot of different arcs to make up its own climax. But the first half of the movie adapts like the first 3 volumes pretty faithfully, I would say, with some, changes made here and there to streamline things.
So would that be everything up to like Manji fighting the other guy who's immortal?
That would even be past that. The 3rd volume is Manji fighting Makie, the prostitute who is a member of the Itorui, who is very loyal to Notsu.
Oh, that girl. Okay.
Mm-hmm. They take out most of her backstory, which is very interesting in the manga. So when she, in the film, decides to spare Manji's life and says, "Oh, I hate fighting, and I always hate the effect that my fighting brings to people. I hate killing."
I was
Like, that comes out of nowhere in the film because it's like, what? You were so badass and serious up until this point, and now you're like, "Oh, I can't kill you.
You
Even
cut
though
up
I stabbed you.
You cut
in
up
the back."
Manji, and now you're saying you can't kill him. Yeah, maybe you should have felt this way like 5 minutes ago.
It makes more sense in the manga where she is presented as more emotionally vulnerable, and she fights Manji before and can't really put up a fight because her heart isn't in it, and then she has some introspection, and then when she fights Manji the second time, she, basically defeats him, but, like, it's still made not very clear in the film. Her philosophy, why she is the way she is. In the manga, she has a backstory. And her relationship with Anotsu is also not as fleshed out, because, you get this idea that they are lovers, that Anotsu and Maki love each other in the film, but, there's just so much more to their relationship in the manga.
Yeah.
And you can say that for a lot of things, I'm sure, but, like, the first couple of storylines, they pretty much carry over all the essential elements. I think the biggest change in this film is honestly making it more serious. And that's what really surprised me, is that in terms of tone, this is played much more seriously than I would have expected. And also, it is not that over the top with its violence. Yes, there is a lot of extreme violence, but it actually feels a lot more grounded than I would expect. Yeah. Even though there are, extreme stunts, like Makie's weapons, and the scene where the street warriors are, impale Manji and then try to decapitate him with the tree and stuff, by tying the, whatever it is, the sickle to the tree and all that. Mm. So, there are, extreme action set pieces, but, the actual, action does not feel as over the top. In the manga, when we see the scene where Manji kills his sister's husband, he slices the top of his head right off.
Oh, shit.
It splits in half.
It's kind of interesting. Horizontally. It's kind of interesting that they went that direction, because usually with these anime and manga films, trying to, embrace the, crazy over-the-topness. Yeah. In many ways, they end up becoming more over-the-top than the source material.
Yeah, but this feels a lot more grounded. When Shinra falls down the waterfall and splatters into, a bunch of blood, that is one of the few moments where it's, over-the-top.
Yeah. that
but, in general, it's a lot more grounded. And I was a little disappointed in that, because one of the most cool things about the manga is, the death murals. At the end of every chapter, when Manji defeats his opponent of the chapter, there's a very painterly, super detailed depiction of his blade, and it's a lot of people describe it as a mandala kind of image. It's just really detailed and kind of trippy, for lack of a better word. It's just so visually distinct. It looks like a painting, but they didn't replicate that style in the film. Mm. No one dies in, a very pronounced manner. It's pretty straightforward actions, pretty straightforward, samurai fighting. Mm. And I was expecting, from what I have seen and understand of Miike's filmography, he is known for, his over-the-top action as well. So I was surprised he didn't do that take, and he decided to take this in a more serious direction.
From what little clips I've seen of his other stuff, he definitely embraces the whole over-the-topness of the material. So it's interesting with this that he went so much more subdued.
I heard he went more grounded in series with JoJo as well. I think that worked against it. I think that's what worked against it. But I think with Blade of the Immortal, given its source material, it works a lot better. Even if, to me, I really wanted to see those depth murals replicated in the film.
I'd say, with a samurai film, you can pull that off. You can go a bit more serious, I feel. JoJo, though, that just sounds weird. 100% serious JoJo. Maybe the film should have bombed.
I don't know if it was 100% serious. Just from how I had seen clips of it, it seemed he was taking a more serious approach to it, focusing on the horror aspect more than the comedy. That's one thing that he did with Blade of the Immortal, is that he removed most of the comedy. Like, a lot of the characters, like Manji himself is a completely different character in this film. He's more serious, he's more brooding. In the manga, he's a lot more relaxed. He has a more abrasive personality. He's not afraid to speak his mind, and he cracks jokes.
I wouldn't say that he's completely serious in this film, but I guess,
I got that sense.
I don't know.
I got the sense that a lot, even Rin was also more, serious, a victim. I mean, she played herself more as, a victim than in the manga. In the manga, she had, more agency, and she was essential to, a lot of the fights. I mean, not that essential, but she at least fought. When Manji fought the other Immortal, he only was able to, get the upper hand because Rin intervened and helped him out, and distracted Shizuma enough in order to, him to turn the tide. But here, he just does it all on his own, and she just is off to the side. I think that Rin suffers a lot in characterization because she has just so much more agency in the manga. And she also has so much more personality because she makes, jokes and stuff. And in the film, she still teases Manji, in the brother scene. And that scene is, one of the coolest in terms of, cinematography, because we start, with we have a lot of distance from the characters, and they are standing a distance apart. It's just, we focus on this wide shot, this one single shot, for a long period of time. And then, when, Manji walks away to the left of the screen, the camera pans with him. We're still at the same distance. We don't cut at all. It's just one shot. Mm-hmm. And then, he stops dead center of the frame, right when Rin is saying, Oni-sama, he stops. And then she comes into the frame, and it closes the distance between them. And then he leaves again. The panic follows him still. But, again, it's just one take, one shot, and then Miike really cleverly uses the distance between characters to characterize the relationship and how it changes, and how it grows apart, and also to, reflect Manji's emotional distance from Rin and everything. How he's trying to, run away from his past. It's such a really well done scene. And again, one of the most things I really like about Miike's filmmaking in this is how he's able to linger on a scene to characterize emotion, to bring out more emotion. When Rin is just sitting in her father's dojo with his corpse on the floor and a pool of blood, and just sit there looking at that shot for what feels like 30 seconds or more. And we just take that in until she starts wailing and bawling. It's just, man, great filmmaking there. Really knows how to get a reaction out of you. Really makes you focus on the scene and get everything out of that image. Really good filmmaking here.
I'd say Miike's experience really shines in this film. It just is so engaging, just how everything is presented visually. Like you said, just all the directing just ties in really well with the actual narrative and themes. It's just so great. I don't know,
For me, some of the most significant things about the film is just thinking about how he made changes to it to present it as the narrative he wants. Yeah. Because he takes off a lot of the humor, and also, in terms of the performances, they are much more grounded. There's not too much over-the-top acting. And in terms of casting, like, one thing that, was really stood out to me is Shizuma. Like, Shizuma is the other Immortal. And in the film, he's like a white-haired, much older-looking man, to establish that, yeah, he's been around for a long time. And also, his performance communicates, like, that sense of jaded personality.
Yeah.
Which itself comes off as intimidating. But in the manga, he did not look that much older than Manji. He had black hair. He was a little younger looking. The way his character design was, he was just more straightforwardly unnerving. He seemed just crazy, just flat out in terms of his looks and psychology. But, like, in the film, like, it all came down to the performance, that deep voice, just the monotone way he said everything. So, I think the performances were all really good. I mean, Rin's actress, Hana Sugisake, I think she was actually brilliant. Even though Rin, as a character, has, like, less agency, I feel, than her manga counterpart, in the sense that she is not as driven to get involved. Like, she doesn't, like, actively participate in fighting as in the manga. I still think, like, during the scene where she is telling Makie whether she believes her path of revenge and whether she can justify killing is wrong or not, I think, like, she really elicits a lot of great emotion in her dialogue in that scene. Like, her acting is superb. Like, whenever she is making, like, a really emotional speech or there's, like, a really powerful emotion she's trying to express, her actress really nails it, and that really sells the character for me. Even though I like the characterization of her manga counterpart a lot better. Like, in the manga, that scene where Rin is talking to Makie, it's, all the same things are said, but, like, the way it's presented is just a lot less impactful in the manga than it feels in the film to me.
That's interesting. I don't know. I feel like I have more to say about this if I had read a bit of the manga.
Right. I mean, I only read the first 3 volumes, but everything in those first 3 volumes are in this film, except for, like, 1 chapter's worth of content that was superfluous.
I guess one thing I could give my opinion on is that I just felt, like you said, even beyond, like, Rin's actor, I felt just the acting in this in general was just really well done.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, I feel like there's this weird stigma with Japanese live-action films, especially with anime and manga adaptations, that they're kind of low budget, or they kind of just don't get, like, super talented, like, actors and stuff. And this is, like,
it's extremely well acted.
Yeah, like I'd say Manji,
all the 3 main roles are incredible. Takeo Kimura's Manji, brilliant. Hana Sugisake's Rin, the standout, I think. And Sota Fukushi as Anotsu, great performance. Really sells him as a villain. I really like this characterization of Anotsu in the film. In the manga, he definitely seems more childish, more of a bratty character. But in the film, like, he just has such a commanding presence. He feels so dangerous, even though he's so quiet and soft-spoken. Like, really good characterizations for performance in this film. I really like it.
Yeah, I really liked just how Anotsu was presented. Like,
great villain.
Yeah, like, initially they do kind of portray more as, like, I guess, super villainy, and how, like, he's letting, like, his subordinates just, like, pillage and rape, like Rin's dojo. But over the course of the film, you really can, I guess, not sympathize with him per se, but you can understand where he's coming from with his mentality towards wanting to become kind of this overreaching, like, master of, like, swordsmen for, like, the entire nation.
Yeah. I mean, the film does a really good job as painting him as an anti-villain. He's still a bad person because he has killed in order to make the Ichogui what it is, but at the same time, you can empathize with his motivation because it is grounded in some very powerful philosophy and personal reasoning.
Yeah.
And he's not necessarily, like, black and white evil. Like, he doesn't go out of his way to kill needlessly, at least to him. He sees no reason to kill Rin, so he doesn't. Like, he's not gonna go out and kill innocent people. He does not consider her father innocent because of what he represented, because of what his grandfather did to his grandfather.
Yeah, I mean, he very much has his own code of honor, and he sticks by it.
Yeah. I think...
Go ahead.
I think all the performances are excellent. I am less enthusiastic about characterization of certain characters. Or at least the presentation of certain characters. Like, I think the big one for me is Makie, because she is such a less interesting character in the film. I mean, she's cooler in the sense that her fight scene is, like, really great.
She doesn't have...
But, like, her personal motivation is not strong. I mean, they communicate, like, that sense of, oh, she is not really that happy to see Anotsu when he comes to her at the hostel to tell her to go fight Manji, and then, like, she leaves him a lock of hair as an apology at the end, and we see Anotsu's reaction, so... I mean, there's subtle characterization there, but she's just not as good a character as in the manga.
She doesn't have, like, a lot of presence in this film, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like,
just on another one, and this is, I guess, is more minor, but I think it's also indicative of how I actually think this film is oddly toned down and censored in compared to the manga, in the character of Sabatoi Kuroi. So, this was the first of the Ichirui that they killed.
The guy with, like, the heads on his shoulders?
Yeah. He has heads on his shoulders, right? But we don't see, like, the heads fully exposed. We see, like, him expose part of Rin's mom's head, but we don't see, like, his wife's head on the other shoulder.
Oh, God.
Like, they don't even mention that in the film. They don't even mention his philosophy behind why he puts the heads on his shoulders in the film. Like, he's a one-chapter character in the manga, but he's just so interesting in terms of, like, his characterization and philosophy that he really stuck in my memory, and, like, him revealing, like, his head's on his shoulders, and it's just so disturbing an image in the manga. But I'm so disappointed that in this film they don't go all the way. They don't reveal the heads. They don't just have that shock moment. And that really let me down, honestly. And I feel like a lot of the violence is toned down and made less extreme, and just lessens the shock of things. Like, it's really good action. What I want to emphasize is that the action choreography in this film is phenomenal, and the sense of pain that the characters feel in the fights is brutal. It, like, really grips you, gets you on the edge of your seat. Manji's, the entire, like, last 30 minutes is just one long fight scene with Manji and Anotsu just fighting 100 army man of people, and it's just...
It's insane.
Insanely intense and brutal. So, like, whenever someone gets hurt in this film, you really feel it. It's so good in terms of filmmaking. But in terms of the spectacle that was in the manga that made the manga stand out, I think that was a little disappointing that was not communicated in the film. Carried over.
Well, that's disappointing.
Yeah. And then in terms of storytelling decisions, I actually think they could have taken out Shizuma completely. Like,
was he the blonde-haired guy? Another blonde,
no,
the white-haired guy in the lost hand?
Shizuma is the white-haired guy who is also immortal. And, like, I think they could have taken them out because in the overall grand context of the movie, he didn't really add much because they don't use the poison that he used in the rest of the movie to nullify Manji's healing. I mean, maybe it's because of that poison why Manji's healing effects gradually worsen, but I feel like I guess thematically there's still a reason because of that whole scene where he tempts Rin into becoming immortal, and also because he's supposed to serve as a tragic counterpart to what Manji could become if he went down the wrong path. So, okay, maybe he serves a point, but I think it's one weakness of adapting some episodic storylines into a film, is that it doesn't, he feels like, he feels less necessary to the overall plot than some other things.
That's kind of like the, like, most, like, I guess, like, the first, like,
I think
20 or 30 minutes of the film.
more worthless to the plot is Shira and his gang of people. Because, for one thing, Shira's subordinates do not have any role in the movie.
They do nothing.
Like, the blonde-haired woman that is in his group does not do anything.
Do they actually fight at all? Or like...
No. The glasses guy murders all of the Ichirui at the hideout.
Yeah.
But she doesn't. She's not even in that scene, which is so weird. And I don't know what happens to her after she has her conversation with Manji about asking where Shira went to. Shira, I'm sure, was a very significant character in the manga. I hadn't gotten to him. But it feels to me that, like, his role could have just been taken out, and the movie wouldn't have lost... I mean, he's there to facilitate the whole callback to how Manji lost his sister, and has Manji now face a situation where he might lose Rin in a similar way, and find a way out of that. So he's here to facilitate that kind of callback, and make that conclusion satisfying. But I don't know. I feel like he actually kind of distracts from the climax in just how he just randomly shows up in the middle of this battle scene.
Just grabs Rin.
Grab Rin and take him out of the action. Like, it's just... It definitely felt out of place.
Like, he literally just walks into the crowd of soldiers.
I mean, he rides in on a horse.
Yeah, but after he gets on the horse, he just walks into the crowd of soldiers and he just, like...
Grabs Rin.
Grabs Rin and walks out. Just like, what the heck are you doing?
Yeah, I was expecting something bigger when he came up with his plan of, oh, I know how to get you back, Manji. I'm a bad guy.
I'm gonna grab Rin, herpa-derp. You can't beat me now, herpa-derp.
Yeah. But overall, I think those are minor complaints in terms of, like, things that maybe could have been taken out or rewritten in a way that felt like more cohesive. I don't know. Overall, I think the film was really tightly made. I mean, I enjoyed everything that was in the film, and it definitely made me really excited to read more of the manga. Like, I am really into the manga after having read the first few volumes, and after seeing the film, I really want to read more of the manga, because I know that the film can only scratch the surface of the story that was in the manga in order to tell its story in a 2.5 hour length.
Yeah, I mean, Blade of the Immortal was already on my backlog, but it just got higher on my priorities after this.
It was an awesome film. I'm glad I got to see it in theaters, and I definitely really want to check out more of Takashi Miike's filmography, because he's a really interesting director. And yeah, I would definitely recommend this film to any fan of the manga and any fan of Takashi Miike, because it's excellent.
Yeah, so if you haven't seen it yet, go buy it digitally or watch it however you can.
And that concludes our discussions of Blade of the Immortal and Blade Runner 2049. Thank you for listening to this episode of Manga Mavericks at Movies. Where can the good people find you, VLordGTZ?
The people can find me on Twitter at VLordGTZ. That is VLORDGTZ. Yeah, I just usually talk about whatever I'm reading on there, which tends to be a bunch of stuff lately, for some reason. But I'm also doing a Lupin the Third manga read-through on there, which I have to get through the next few volumes eventually. It'll happen. It just takes a while. But, yeah, aside from that, if you want to talk about Detective Conan, JoJo, or anything else I like, just hit me up on there. I usually respond.
We forgot to talk about our theater experience, and I think that's important. With Blade of the Immortal.
Oh, okay.
Because what was interesting is that we saw this at Lagoon Cinema, and So, we haven't been in Lagoon Center in a while because they stopped showing, like, really most anime-related films, but they were showing Blade of the Immortal, so we went there, and it was very interesting because apparently there was a screening of The Room that night, so there was a huge crowd of people there for The Room, including people cosplaying as Naruto Oso and quoting lines to each other, so
I did not hit her. Oh, hi, Mark.
Yeah, and in the theater itself, our theater, it was not that many people. I think there were only 8 people total, including us.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And you could hear the screaming from the other theater where they were playing The Room, because they were giving out pizza, and they were having, like, a weird trivia game before, like, the actual film itself.
Man, it was a real party. I kind of wish that we had also attended that. But we saw unequivocally the better film. So.
Yeah.
And I was glad we weren't in too crowded a theater, or at least too noisy a theater.
Yeah, I mean, that theater shows The Room, like, once a month, so it's not really a big deal missing a Room screening.
Yeah, it's just like a theater in New York that I used to go to a lot, which showed Rocky Horror Picture Show literally every weekend.
Yeah, this one also shows Rocky Horror Picture Show a bunch, too. Like, yeah.
I think that's just a darling of indie theaters.
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway, I just want to briefly mention that theater experience because it was very interesting. But as for me, you can find me, LumRanmaYasha, on Twitter, at LumRanmaYasha, on my anime list as LumRanmaYasha, on Animation Revelation as LumRanmaYasha. Everywhere you can find me, you'll find me as LumRanmaYasha. And as for the show, you can follow Manga Mavericks on Twitter, at Manga_Mavericks, on Tumblr, at MangaMavericks.tumblr.com. On iTunes, subscribe to us, rate and review us, Manga Mavericks, and look for our YouTube channel name, Manga Mavericks, where you can listen to all of our content, and even more stuff that's YouTube exclusive, like our Judy Dyson and Kino's Journey reviews. And remember, guys, like our content on there, but subscribe to us too, because we are oh so close to those 100 subscribers. If we haven't already passed that mark already,
so
in
close,
which case
yet so
our
far.
next goal would be to get to 200, and then 300, and then 1,000 after that. We just need more of your love and support, so any of that would be greatly appreciated. You can, of course, catch the show first on allcomic.com. All podcast episodes are uploaded there first. Follow that on Twitter at all_comic. And definitely give that some love on our GoFundMe, because the site definitely needs your support to keep on running and keep this show on running. And if you like the show and you want to send us some suggestions of future movies to review, or just send us some questions, comments, and criticism, send those over to our email at mangamaverics@gmail.com. We love reading your guys' feedback, and it definitely helps us improve the show. But that just about does it for this episode of Manga Mavericks at Movies. We'll see you in the next one.
I thought you were going to say sayonara.
I was going to say it after you said your goodbye, but...
Well, you usually say the sayonara, and then I say the later.
Sayonara.
Later.